It's time to put up or shut up for the Texans as Sunday matchup is all about getting over themselves by fixing what's been broken for a win.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Texans fans, I'm credentialed media member and Texans football analyst John Some Sports Guy Hickman alongside Texans credentialed media member and the man with the big hat and the even bigger smile, Brian Big Sarge Bearfield. Thank you for making us your first listen and for being in every day of the show. You guys are a part of the Locked On podcast and the Locked On Texans family, your team every day. Sarge, we're talking Texans today.
Yeah.
It's a big game for the Houston Texans, starting off with the fact that, hey, this is another primetime game, and all primetime games matter. Texans need to perform, and they need to put up a dub. But we also talk about, can Bobby Slug help this offense be king of the field again? And it's been a while, especially considering the up and down status of if Nico Collins will play. And they desperately need Nico Collins back. But we kick off today's show looking at breaking away from bad habits defensively and how stubborn DeMeco Ryans, I believe, has been in terms of his personnel and who he's been putting out there to guard some of these players. Cannot happen on Sunday. But today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn helps you find qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. Terms and conditions apply. Now, Big Sarge is going to bring y'all some good inside talk. And that's what he brings to the show. Guys love him. I love him. You guys will love him. But I'm going to talk about – we're going to open this up with a quote I thought DeMeco Ryans said perfectly, just re-emphasizing his confidence in his team after the trade deadline. He said, I didn't emphasize anything to our team. We have the guys we have here. Everybody thinks the trade deadline comes and you're going to find this guy who is going to save your team. I don't see that way. Transactions were made across the league, and he continued it by saying, and there has to be two parties available to do a trade. I do think that sounds like Houston, tried, but wasn't going to overpay. We talked about that. But more importantly, it's not just us going and taking somebody from another team. People have to be available. And everyone in the trade has to be on good terms. But he ended off saying, there's no savior coming to save our team. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed that part of the quote because to me, guys, it screams we have to save ourselves, right? And I think that's the perfect way to start this off. I appreciate DeMeco's candidness and honesty there, but the fact remains this team and the players on this roster will need the best out of both Bobby Slug, who I know you can't wait to talk about, and DeMeco. And I think this is a game where things can get out of hand if both sides don't perform well from a schematic standpoint. Or it will be a game where the Texans shock people or at best keep it close, which the Texans have done in 2 of the 3 games against teams where a plus 500 record. Sarge, what will the Texans need to do to win this game on the defensive side of the ball?
John, on Thursday, I got a chance to speak with linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair, who the Houston Texans really need back.
Yeah.
Not only just from a physical standpoint, from someone who needs to, get on the field to be able to help out with the physicality, but who is the quarterback, and we said this on numerous occasions, who's the quarterback of that defense. So they need his mind. They need his mind and everything that he brings to being able to put things back in place. Now, the Houston Texans defense, while he was out, did not play bad. Even though in the Jets game there was, that second half is something that they wish that they could just get away from because of those 3 70-yard plus drives that ended in scores. But having Azeez back on the field this week, going up against a quarterback like Jared Goff, who is not going to blow you away with his athleticism, but he's very efficient. And he takes what the defense gives him. And so we're speaking with Azeez on yesterday and with linebacker Henry Toa as well in the locker room. You want to take away his comfortability.
Yeah.
The 2 things that Azeez and Henry said was, take away his comfortability, make it uncomfortable for him. So they said the same thing 2 different ways, but so you have to get that inside, that pressure on him. You have to put the pressure on the pocket to make him become uncomfortable and make him not get so used to, getting into rhythm. One thing about Jared Goff is when he gets into the rhythm, it's hard to stop him because it's like the field almost opens up. And you add that along with the running game that they have, the field opens up for him, and now he's just picking his spots. He's not looking to blow you away. We spoke about this on the show already. He's not looking to blow you away with the explosive plays down the field. And so what Aziz said and what Henry said was, we have to make sure that we're playing that pressure packed ball, meaning getting to Jared Goff, all the while making sure that we're in our zones or where we need to be, and don't let him beat us with those quick passes. Don't let him beat us.
Right.
Don't let make it difficult for him to be able to see Amon-Ra St. Brown or the tight end behind us. We need to make sure that we keep constant chaos and confusion around him, because if not, that's when he gets into that rhythm and that's when he gets going, and then you'll look up and he's 11 for 11 or 15 for 15. And so having Aziz out there is not only going to put Henry in place, but he's also going to make sure that that defensive line is where they need to be, as well as the secondary. And so I'm glad that that the Houston Texans should have Aziz Al-Shaair back against the Detroit Lions this week, because you're playing a matchup game. They also said, both of them also said, and defensive coordinator Matt Burke said this as well, you're playing against an unorthodox style of offense, not as far as schematically, but with a head coach that'll look up and it'll be 4th and 15 when most people you expect them to punt. He'll be like, "Now we'll go for it." And so, that 4th and 15, go for it. But what's setting up is Henry To'o said that you have to play the first and second downs so they don't get to the decisions to have to make those. Get to the point where they have to make those type of decisions, because if you stop them and keep them within a range on first and second down, when you get to those, 4th and longs or 3rd and longs, it changes the trajectory of the game.
And I'll say this, both of those guys being back at the same time, I think helped Houston out in terms of being able to stop a very good running attack from Detroit. I mean, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, those guys have really been able to piece together they give you the same thing, but in different ways, right?
Yes.
They've been able to piece it together perfectly up there. Kudos to Brad Holmes, the GM.
And real quick, John, both of those linebackers said you would think that things change once one is in and one is out. He said they run the same thing when both of them are in the game.
Yeah, it's just you get an extra little boost in speed when you get Jahmyr out there. And so that's another reason why I'm glad Aziz is back. But also mentioning the fact that, hey, listen, we got to take away the things that Jared Goff is comfortable with doing. And Jared Goff is comfortable, like we mentioned, between 0 and 9 yards. He has only 17 attempts downfield, 20 and plus yards. That's not his game. The Lions know that. And so Ben Johnson, being an OC that maximizes his player strengths, he understands I got to find ways to make sure that my quarterback can go 11 and 11, because only one attempt of those 11 passes is going past 10 yards. But we know that Aziz, being the quarterback of the defense, has been damn good at helping that defense take away the short routes from opposing offenses. But I also think we should see a lot of Stingley on Jamison Williamson. He's the only DB that I trust to pair with that speed. And we know if there's any receiver on that team that's going deep, it'll be him. Amon-Ra St. Brown only has one attempt down past 20 yards. So we need to see Kamari on St. Brown. I think that matches up a little bit well with his physicality and his skill set. A little bit better in terms of being able to take away the big playability. You got Stingley for that. Especially on obvious passing downs, you need to put St. Brown, match up St. Brown and Kamari Lassiter. St. Brown has 58 targets from the slot, and he's dangerous, but he's also sitting at 9.9 yards per reception, which places him outside of top 50 in slot yards per reception this year. Kamari is, I think, perfect for the underneath cornerback for this team. He should be able to run with St. Brown, slow him down by getting his hands on him early in the route. He also considering he doesn't go vertical a lot, right? Very east and west type of receiver. He has an average depth of field of 7.6. The only pushback to that, guys, I can make sense of, Lassiter not having any snaps in the slot this year.
Yeah.
So how comfortable he'd be in that role. To that, I'd say hopefully, this is where the stubbornness of DeMeco Ryans needs to change. Hopefully, it was emphasized during the practice week, during practice this week. Houston may need to give more opportunities to Miles Bryant, more snaps there. He only allowed one catch for 6 yards on one target, but Petrie can't be out there again as he's allowed nearly 300 yards and 4 TDs from the slot. Yeah. That team he may get 150 in this game alone if they continue to line him up and put him in positions that's going to harm himself and the defense on the field. This game plan can't be stubborn because the Lions offense will make a hard head a soft ass real quick.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, when I look at the best way to take advantage of, okay, how can Houston win these matchups? It has to be, they got to get away from what they've been doing, because what they've been doing hasn't been working, and teams around the league have been able to see that. They're finding that matchup. They're finding that slot matchup, and they are exploiting it. Now, with additional time off and a mini bye, Texans get a little more time during the break in between games to work on some things. Sarge, you want to talk about Bobby having the time to get it right against Detroit. So we'll do that and more on the Locked On Texans podcast. For most of us collecting cards that like collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 or more on a Patrick Mahomes rookie card or a CJ Stroud rookie card just isn't in the cards. I love collecting cards. Did it early on in life with my grandmother. She would just find little cards from back in the day. A lot of like the Batman cards. And then I had a Keem Olajuwon card from back in the day. So we used to love collecting those cards. But that's some serious money to drop, $2,000 on one card, especially in this economy. Thanks to slab packs from the Arena Club family and arenaclub.com, now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of their retail price. Every card that I just listed was hit from last week's Arena Club slab pack drop. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value and a complete view of all possible cards and clear hit rates for each one. Arena Club slab packs are revolutionizing the repack game with transparency. After your pools are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. The Arena Club grading process is accurate, fast, and transparent with a full rationale provided, an explanation of how your card was scored. Right now, you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/lockedonnfl. That's arenaclub.com/lockedonnfl and using code LockedOnNFL for 10% off your first purchase. Also, Texan fans and listeners around the nation, guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom at our best. There's a meeting in a bedroom, and Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you the boost and confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes in your life. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provide access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor visits. You don't got to talk to nobody. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon hims.com/locked-on for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/locked-on.
We can make the tournament.
Bobby, we know what type of quarterback CJ has been and what he can do as far as accuracy, as far as being able to manipulate the pocket and things like that. What have you seen these last couple of games? It looks like sometimes he's holding the ball too long. Sometimes sounds like looks like he's hearing footsteps, maybe seeing ghosts because of the amount of pressure. What can you do to help relieve some of that?
We got to be better across the board. We got to be better up front. We got to be better in the backfield. We got to be better at receiver. We got to go back to the trust we built in OTAs and training camp.
To get back to having fun as the offensive coordinator, what does that mean to you?
A lot of times in the NFL, fun correlates to doing well. So I know that's but it's just the reality, right? We all are blessed that we're able to be in a football organization and do what we do, and we never lose sight of that. I know CJ, just as much as me, is a man of faith and never lose sight of where he's at and how blessed we are to be here. But when you're not performing across the board as good as you can, it's never as fun as it could be. So again, everything for us ties back to let's reattach to who we are. Let's reattach to what we've done really well for like 5 weeks over the course of the season that we kind of have lost a little touch with as we've went. Let's re-hone on that and reattach to it, and then let's just keep pressing forward.
I don't know how religious people are, and I don't know what their faith is. But John, I'm going to be honest with you. And I hope that I don't offend anyone because I'm also a man of faith. But John, if I hear CJ and Bobby keep mentioning we're men of faith, we're blessed to be here, I get that. But what does that have to do with a 3rd and 12 call? What does being a man of faith have to do with?
Well, you got to believe, Sarge.
What does being a man of faith have to do with the defensive pressure that's being applied to? How can being a man of faith stop this stunt that's about to happen, or this delayed blitz? Or, John, like I said, I get it. You're a man of faith. Well, can you do more praying inside the red zone? Like, we know you can get to the red zone.
Yeah, and praying, I would say that with the EY, not the AY.
Right.
Pray on it and score 7 and not 3.
And John, I'm going to be honest with you. CJ probably has to be a stronger man of faith because the way that Bobby's calling these plays and the way that Chris Strausser is calling these, Chris Strausser is coaching this offensive lineman, I'm pretty sure he feels like his life is on the line. And so he got to make sure that his affairs in order because he ain't trying to get hurt on the field. So I'm pretty sure CJ goes to the line and says a silent prayer like, Lord, just let me get up because I know I'm about to get hit. So, John, with that being said, all of that being said, and I had to say that because, yes, Bobby, we know that you all are blessed to be able to make a lot of money playing the kids' game or coaching the kids' game. We got all of that, Bobby. I understand. But at some point, John, and we've said this on numerous occasions, it's going to have to kick in. And now you couldn't get it done against the Jets, which, by the way, the Jets does have a very good defense. I can't take that away from them. They do have a good defense. But so does the Lions. And so if CJ isn't out there having fun, then guess what? That's got a lot to do with you, Bobby. Because I've been around CJ a lot this year, and his demeanor really hasn't changed a lot, but it's changed. You can tell from his rookie year to now. Like, some of those things are starting to take a toll on him. I don't think that CJ expected to come back into this year and have the numbers and things that he had last year. He just wants to win. And although they do have a 6-3 record, although they are sitting atop of the AFC South, when he says he's not having fun, one of the reasons why I asked Bobby that question about what can he do to help CJ stop hearing these footsteps and seeing these ghosts, ties into the fact that if your quarterback is not comfortable, if he's not having fun, because just like I mentioned earlier, John, it's a kid's game, right? John, listen, I know you have a daughter, right? And you may take your daughter. Look, you know how little kids love to play with basketball, football, softballs, or whatever. You may play a little catch back and forth, and that makes you feel like when you were younger playing catch with playing catch with your siblings or playing catch with your relatives or whatever the case may be. It's a kid's game.
Right.
CJ is not having fun. I feel like that's what he means. He's not having fun to the point where he's like, hey man, I remember when I was playing in Snoop's league. I was just out there having fun, throwing the ball around. I remember when I was at Rancho Cucamonga out there just blah, 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 doing this, doing that. I remember when I was at Ohio State. And I'm saying all that, John, to say that if Bobby can't get it together and get this offense going and let CJ having more fun to me would be, hey CJ, guess what? Guess what we're doing this drive? Hey, you get to call the plays. You get to call the plays, CJ. Let's see what you can do. I know you guys. My bad, John. I didn't mean to get long-winded on you, but I did start off by saying we preach on this.
No, but you allowed me to just sit back and think, man, when was the last time CJ Stroud had fun?
Yeah.
And it was when a 67-yard bomb to Nico Collins. And remember, he looked to the sideline and he folded his arms and he said, I'm back. And you know what? I don't know, because this team has been hamstrings hurt this team a lot. We've seen some good players in the last couple of seasons miss time because of hamstrings. I don't know if he can't have fun without Nico Collins in this offense, because everything that Nico Collins does, listen, he takes the top off of defense, especially if a defense is playing cover 1 or cover 3. He can go take a top off. He can beat man. Nico also opened things up for your Robert Woods, your Tank Dales. And so we also know, based off of what we saw from CJ Stroud coming out of college and a little bit of last year, he likes to kind of spread the ball out a little bit whenever guys are able to get open. And Nico Collins opens that door for players to get open. So for CJ Stroud to not have fun out on the field, I think specifically since Patriot game where they went up against a defense that was in disarray and they were able to score points at will, I think since then it's been going down. And I also think a large part of that is due to the fact that I'm not getting the time. Now, we've talked about not getting the time over and over and over again. I think we're going to see a starting offensive line change this week. Jared Patterson was back from concussion protocol. I believe we'll see Kendrick Green start at left guard. I'm curious to see how they trot out that offensive line this Sunday in a big matchup, mind you. But offensively, I think it's all about reach out and touch somebody's hand, and everybody got to touch the ball.
Yeah.
Because that allows, I think, for this offense to keep their defense honest. This is the number 27, 26 bottom half, second half for the league passing defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
So the opportunities will be there. For John Mechie, we talk about getting it right. For John Mechie, hey, you know what? You're getting open, but maybe you need to sit in those zones a little bit more. CJ will find you if you sit in the zone and not continue to run into a man that's covering another zone. So that he has to be better in that sense. Tank Dell is going to be Tank Dell. 150 yards against one of the best passing defenses in the league, and he made some great plays for the Houston Texans. So I'm not worried about him. Dalton Schultz, same thing for you. Find those zones and sit in that zone. And for Bobby, one thing this team was killed with last year defensively, crossing routes. Take a page out of somebody else's book and attack the Detroit Lions the same way.
And John, I will say this, with that having fun comment, it hasn't been, but it's crazy because it should be. For as close as Tank Dell and CJ Stroud are on the field and off the field, he should still be able to have some fun with Tank. But like I say, it also goes to the play call. Now, real quickly, Bobby was asked a question yesterday, and it was a very good question. He was asked about the look. He said, I'm going to give, the question was what it means on not getting a certain look from a play calling perspective? And Bobby said that was a good question. And it went in. I'm going to read this real quick. He says, for example, if I say I'm calling a play for Tank, I'm probably calling a play for Tank that is going to get the ball. That Tank is going to get the ball if we're getting the coverage we are expecting. If we don't get the coverage we're expecting, we have other options on the field that our quarterback is going to get to. Now, and I get that. I get that, John. You're right. If you're calling a play for Tank and you don't get that look to get the ball to Tank, then we know that, CJ has, if Tank is the number one option, then he knows that he has to go through his progressions and get the 2, 3, 4, whatever the case may be. But that goes back to another question, John, that I asked Bobby 2 weeks ago and that we talked about on this show. John, how often do you see CJ audible? And so if the look is not there, then what is the audible? Right? You call him 2, 3 plays in the huddle. Where's the audible? I don't hear audibles. I don't hear or see a lot of audibles. And so maybe that's one of the things that can get get them going again. And I don't know, John. I'm just it's perplexing to me because you have such a talented quarterback and he should be able to have more responsibility. We're not in this day we're not in the age anymore, John, where these quarterbacks have to sit back, watch, and learn. You know what you got already when you watched him break those records his rookie year. It just doesn't seem like they're not giving him free range of motion. And I don't know why you got to keep him shackled up. And Chris Strausser, the offensive line coach, said yesterday, talking about the offensive line, he says, this is going to sound crazy. He said, I know it's going to sound crazy, but you learn from mistakes. And I don't think that Bobby and DeMeco has allowed CJ to learn more from mistakes.
We got to talk about primetime games. The Houston Texans need a win in this one to prove to the rest of the league that they are for real. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has all of the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn continues to help you find and hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who are not actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In any given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. LinkedIn knows that all small businesses are wearing so many hats and may not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process easier and quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Also, Texan fans, this season, though it's been up and down, offensively, it's been fun. 6-3 team. They got a 40-point game. They got a lot of close score games. It's been a fun season in a sense. There's no better way to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. If you're ready to jump into the action for the Texans and Lions showdown this Sunday night, the spread is currently at 3.5 points. A tight game, but it could be prime for a Texans cover. And if you're feeling ambitious, consider those Texans Super Bowl odds at plus 2,200 for fans who think this team could go all the way. That's a big reward for backing your squad right now. Right now, new customers can get $5, but can place $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same place you place your bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com today. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back in, Locked On listeners. Before we close out today's show, Sarge, how important will it be for the Houston Texans to get a win Sunday night?
Well, they definitely need a win, John. You can't after that debacle that they had on Thursday night against the New York Jets on primetime television. You know, it's crazy, Amazon Prime, but they were on primetime television, John, and second time this season that they were on primetime television. And to be honest with you, against the Chicago Bears, they did not look very good in their in that Sunday night game. And so they had a chance to redeem themselves this past Thursday, and they didn't. They dropped the ball. Now you're going to be on primetime television again for the next 2 weeks, but now you're going up against the best. It's the one of the worst situations that the Houston Texans can be in, going up against the best team in the NFL to have to try to prove themselves that they are still a very good team in the AFC and the NFL as well.
Yeah, and the Detroit Lions will give Houston the opportunity to make it a game, man. And again, I know the Houston Texans maybe without both Will Anderson and Nico Collins. Both of those statuses are up in the air. And I definitely think they need at least one of those guys, if not both, back Sunday. But, we'll wait to see what the final verdict will be. Detroit is allowing 10 points in the second half this year. Houston in the last couple of games have only scored 6 points in the second half. So now you're looking at the opportunities being there and you taking advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah.
Again, when I look at Detroit's cornerbacks, 411 yards allowed by Carlton Davis. He's been out on the field on 349 passing snaps. 385 allowed by Terrion Arnold, the rookie. He's been out on the field for 256 passing snaps. 331 yards allowed by Meek Robinson. He's been on the field 229 snaps, and they've all played in 8 games. And Meek Robinson is allowing nearly 15 yards per catch. Carlton Davis, 12. Terrion Arnold, 11. Those guys have really made that defense vulnerable. And for the last 10 days since they played the New York Jets, I just hope that they've been in the lab, in the war room, figuring out how can we attack those guys. One of those guys is a rookie. He's still trying to figure out himself in the NFL. I mean, Robinson plays more of a nickel safety role, but, what are his inefficiencies? And Carlton Banks will give up a big player too.
Yeah.
And so even without Nico Collins, who, again, I'm going to keep banging on this door, I can't wait to see if he plays or not. It's important for Houston to not limit themselves offensively and kind of throw everything out there, Sarge. I mean, your back is against the wall.
Yeah.
And no team, no elite team, no ball club is going to respect you if you only get wins under 500 teams.
Yep.
Right? I mean, they got the Buffalo Bills game, and that was a great game. But Minnesota, embarrassed. You lost against Green Bay, which was a very close game, and it was a good game. But due to some of the issues that we've been talking about, that was the reason why. And then you get embarrassed on national stage on Thursday Night Football, allowing with 3 touchdowns in the second half. You gotta when teams come into your city, into your stadium, you gotta fight back. And so I think this is one of those games, primetime, where they gotta pull out all the stops.
Yeah.
But those stops gotta be smart. I don't want to see another halfback pass to CJ Stroud on a fade route. I don't want to see that. Right. But they have to have, some wrinkles that I'm sure they worked on this week that would allow them to kind of say,
they had enough time, John. They had enough time to get this
to create
thing.
counter punches.
This is like a bye week for them, even though they don't have a bye week till week 14. This is like a bye week for them, the amount of time that they have. So you can't come back and put the same product on you can't come back and have the same showing that you had in your last game. Real quickly, John, the one of my strong keys to victory for the Houston Texans is their defense. They got the number 2 defense in the league.
Yes.
And even though their run defense, they're averaging, I think, like 111, 114 yards they're giving up. And we know what the Lions running backs can do. But I think that if like what Aziz and Henry To'oTo'o said, if they can give Jared Goff some of that, give him no time to be able to make those decisions to pick apart their defense, I think that they can do it.
Yeah. Really quick, man, how important would it be for both Will and Nico to come back? I mean, you look at Will, he impacts the quarterback just as much as he impacts the run game. And then Nico again, just being that security blanket and the receiver CJ Stroud trust downfield.
Well, they're the two biggest. They're if you take away CJ, I mean not take away CJ, but if you look at CJ and you look at Joe Mixon and you say, those are two players on that team that the Texans, have that stand out. They stand out a lot. But Will was a AFC Defensive Player of the Month. That's big. When Nico went out, he was leading the league in receiving yards. So for as much as, yes, we like CJ, don't get me wrong, we like Joe, but we're talking about two players who had been recognized by the league as being in the top of what they were doing. And for the Houston Texans not to have, you got to have all hands on deck when you're going up against the best team in the NFL. And so it would be huge if the Houston Texans could get both of those players back. But if they can't get them both back, John, at least get one. And I know that we're getting ready to end this show, but if you had to pick one, who would you pick?
Nico Collins. You talk about having fun. Last time we saw CJ kind of have some swag out on the field, it was a pass to Nico Collins. Thank you guys for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12 and follow the Locked On Texans page at Locked On Texans.
And you can follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Star Sports with the Z at the end.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, let's go get a win Sunday night. Peace.